Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope you're all doing well. Eddie Hearn gave an interview, I think it was with Seconds Out, one of those channels, and he was asked about the whole Canelo thing. How much of a loss is it to DAZN and to Matchroom and so on. Now, obviously, it is a loss because Canelo's still, a massive name, the biggest name in boxing, and Hearn has promoted, I think he said 7 of his last 9 or 6 of his last 8 fights or whatever. Obviously, Matchroom wanted to retain Canelo's services, and the fact that they haven't is a little bit of a downer. But he made a comment that I think bears emphasising, and that is that if Canelo's price was 100 million, which is what PBC have paid for 3 fights, then that's 100 million quid that Matchroom and DAZN can invest in other fighters. And I don't think that's a comment that can be overlooked. I think it should be emphasised because that's a ton of money. And you think of how many promotions you could do, how many other fighters you could bring through. This is a long game. Promotion is a long game. You want the biggest names in your stable, of course you do, but it's peaks and troughs. And $100 million, I mean, there are other fighters you can make a lot of money out of. There are other fighters that can elevate your platform and your promotional company, apart from Canelo, who is in his early 30s and has recently lost to Dimitri Bivol. Let's say that Matchroom, let's say that Matchroom had paid Canelo another ton of money and rematched Bivol, and Bivol had beaten him again, or that he'd moved up to cruiserweight and fought Badu Jack, and maybe, I would have favoured Canelo to win that, but because Badu Jack was at one point a super middle, he's not a big cruiserweight at all. But let's say Badu Jack had beaten Canelo. I mean, you're still contracted to pay him enormous amounts of money, even though he's, for want of a better phrase, damaged goods. Again, I repeat, ideally, retaining Canelo would have been a good thing, but at what price? And if Hearn and Matchroom feel that they just couldn't match PBC's offer, that it wasn't worth it, that it wasn't economically viable, or whatever the phrase is, they were right to say, okay, we'll take that money that we've saved by not re-signing Canelo and we'll spend it on other people. Again, promotion, I repeat, promotion is peaks and troughs, because you look at someone like Frank Warren. I mean, during the Box Nation days, he was considered almost, a sort of a side. Then he signed Tyson Fury and he made a big comeback. If you go back way further, he was bankrupted, I think, a couple of times, or near as damn it. He lost a big court case, lost $900,000 back in the 90s to early 90s to, the mid 90s, to Don King. There's all sorts of shenanigans go on within a promotional lifetime, and it isn't just about what's happening today. Hearn was flying with Sky, absolutely flying, dominated the domestic scene totally, was dipping his waters into the international scene when he had that dual deal with Sky and DAZN. Decided to go with DAZN. Things haven't worked out as well as he'd have hoped for, but write this guy off at your peril, because he is an extraordinarily hard worker. And again, just because he's not going through the best period of his promotional career, I wouldn't write the guy off. I mean, people have said that DAZN is hemorrhaging money, which it is, but so was Netflix for the first few years of its inception. So was Sky. I'm old enough to remember when Sky started, and it was funded. I've said this before. It was funded by Rupert Murdoch's newspapers. He would take the money he was making from the Sun, which was selling 3 million copies a day, roughly every day, and invest it into Sky. And Sky was losing money. But in order to create something new, or in this case newish, to get a foothold, you do sometimes have to invest astronomical amounts of money for the long-term future. So let's say DAZN does become popular, does start to make money. Suddenly, for the next several decades, it may well make tens of millions. hundreds of millions. You just don't know. This level of business is so beyond what most of us are imagining in terms of money, in terms of the numbers, that what seems to us like absolute insanity, losing that amount of money, suddenly, long term, in 20 years time, 15, 20 years time, whatever, suddenly we're like, okay, well, they're making a ton of money now, they're making it back now. Look, I'm not a businessman, but I do know that old speculate to accumulate line, that old cliche, is an absolute tenet of business. You've got to put money in, and the 100 million that they didn't spend on trying to retain Canelo's services will be spent building other fighters in other areas of the world. Mexico's a massive market, but Canelo isn't the only Mexican fighter. Hearn is in the United States. Perhaps he can regain total dominance of the British market. He's got interest in Australia with promotional. Then the Australian boxing's going through a very good period. So I would say, if you're looking at it objectively and you're not just hating on Hearn, and look, I'm no fan of Eddie Hearn, not really. I mean, I wouldn't trust the guy as far as I could sling him. But look at it objectively, long term, that money will be used, I think, sensibly to try and build up other fighters and ultimately other markets. So those are my thoughts. Leave yours below, please. As always, I like reading them. And tell me what you think. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you could hit the subscribe button, it takes a second. It's a massive help to the channel. And if you like the video, hit the like button. And yeah, thanks for your time. Looking forward to reading your comments. Bye for now.